All right.
ठीक है, तो मैं एक बार फ्रेंड से भी बात करता हूँ कि इस एरिया में वो क्या, उनका क्या आइडिया है, एंड बेस्ड ऑन दैट जैसे
Nitin, there's some background noise coming. Yeah, Amit.
रूटीन हो गया कि जैसे कोड ऑफ कंडक्ट हो गया।
Why do we need something like share-based payment, right? And what exactly, is the commercial transaction, which is what is happening. So, if you've already gone through the module on Ind AS 19 on employee benefit plans, where we talked about the relationship between the employer and the employee and all the benefits which are being received by the employee in relation to the employment arrangement, all of those benefits, whether a short-term employment benefit or other long-term employment benefits or a post-employment benefit or a termination benefit, all of them are accounted for under Ind AS 19, except accounting for share-based payments, right? And accounting for share-based payments is covered under Ind AS 102. So what exactly is share-based payment? So let me just give you a very simple example. Let's say I'm a company, all right? Let's just take name of any company, XYZ, okay? And that company wants to attract talent, okay? Now, in order to attract talent, you can compensate your employees in many ways, right? Let's say when we see a private sector, they say this is your salary, these are your other benefits, these are your gratuity benefits, etc., etc. When you go to government sector, they say, look, this is your salary, you get housing, you get car, you get this, you get that, you get pension. And similarly, there are set of companies, who they offer stocks, they offer shares of the company in which you are working, right? So, for example, if you were to join, let's say, Infosys, right? If you were to join Infosys, Infosys will say, okay, this is your salary, and then you will also get paid. You will also be entitled to receive stock compensation. All right. And not stock, you will also be entitled to receive stock options. Let's say when I had started my journey, right, 2 decades ago, so I had also, let's say, received salary, and also company promised to me that you will also be offered stock options. Okay. Now, what does it mean? So let's say there's a company, Infosys, as I said, and let's say as an employee, I join Infosys, and then they will say that I'm going to offer you 100 shares of Infosys, okay, which you are entitled for over a 5-year period or a 2-year period or a 3-year period, whatever the duration is, right? Provided you complete your service, which is called service related condition, okay, so to say. So if you complete, and we'll discuss a lot of this concept at great length, but I'm just trying to help you understand the principle, why share based payments, okay? So essentially what we are trying to do here is that I'm trying to attract talent, and then I'm not only offering salary to my employee, but I'm also saying that, look, here you have an opportunity to participate in the growth of the company, right? Because if the company were to do well, the share price will appreciate, right? If the share price will appreciate, right? And you don't have to pay anything to have this right. What you are paying for, you're providing services, right? Against for you to provide services, company is making a promise to you that they will give you shares in future, right? And that is what are being committed to you in the form of stock options, right? That you are entitled for so many options. And why they are being called options? They're being called options is because you as an employee, you have a right, and as we know in option, you have a right but not an obligation, right? So you as an employee, you have a right to purchase those shares from the company or not purchase those shares from the company, right? Because let's say if the company said, I want to give you, I like you, I want to offer you an employment, or otherwise you are in continuous employment, and I want to offer you, let's say, 100 stock options, and you can exercise, you can purchase those stock options, let's say for 1,000 rupees per share, and the period of validity for your purchasing decision is, let's say, 5-year period. Okay, so 5 years you can actually decide to purchase shares, 100 shares, for which you'll have to pay 1,000 rupees, right? Now, hypothetically speaking, if the stock price, let's say, becomes 500 rupees, right? After 5 years, it's possible, right? Or it never goes beyond 1,000 rupees from that perspective. So if I'm the employee, then I will not say I don't need these shares, right? Because the company has not done well. But there are going to be several situations in which the stock price actually will move from 1,000, say, like 1,500 rupees over a 5-year period. Now, if the stock price has moved 1,500 rupees, then it makes business sense, commercial sense for me to exercise my right, right? So that is why they are being called option. So essentially, what the company is giving an option to the employee to purchase these shares, which are being called exercise these shares after a point in time, provided they fulfill the conditions which are linked to these share-based payment arrangements, right? From that perspective. So the options. So what is the accounting we are trying to do here? Accounting we will be trying to do here of all these share-based payment arrangements between the employer and the employee, right? And there is also a possibility that if you're a company that you may also do a share-based payment arrangement, not only with the employee, but also with non-employees, right? It is also possible, right? That you, instead of paying the other party in cash, you say, I don't have money, but I have my shares. If you're interested to take my shares, I can offer you so much shares for your services or for your products, right? We also see these type of arrangements, though the transaction with employee is very common, which is to offer stock option to employee is very common. The transaction with or offering to a non-employee is not that common. It is there, but it is not so common, right? From that perspective. Okay, so what you are trying to do is that we are trying to do an arrangement between the employer and the employee, right? And that is the accounting. That is the accounting is what we need to do as to how we account for this transaction. Now, historically we used to argue that this is a non-cash transaction because essentially company is not paying anything. Okay, company is only issuing their shares to the employee. They are not paying anything. Okay, so if they're not paying anything to the employee in cash, they are, of course, there is a dilution of the share capital of the company. There is a dilution by the existing shareholders of the company. If there are new shares being issued to employees, right? There's a dilution. But the way accounting used to look at it, that since I'm not paying any cash, consideration to the employee for the services they are providing, this is like a non-cash charge. Even there, so this is like a like a non-monetary transaction, and hence there should not be any accounting charge in the P&L or in the balance sheet. From that perspective. So, but that thinking has changed over last decade or so. That thinking has changed, and now we fully understand and acknowledge the value of the stock options. Okay, which in a way given by the employer to the employee, and many of these stock options arrangement have actually made employees millionaires, right? And if you have some time, you should actually look at the stock option arrangement, which is what Elon Musk has signed up with Tesla, right? That's the matter of public news. And he's actually raking in hundreds and millions of dollars, right? In terms of the share-based payment arrangement. And so is the case with every company in the Silicon Valley, right? Or a lot of the large startup ecosystem in the country. Every company which is in the startup world, they attract talent, right? All right. So every company in the startup ecosystem, they attract talent, and when they attract talent, they offer, right? They offer, in a way, they offer stock options. They offer stock options to their employees, and which, if the company does well, they actually reap in benefits which are much, much, much more than the salary is what they make from those organizations. So that's the broad essence of what a share-based payment arrangement is. Is it a tool? It's an arrangement to incentivize an employee, right? It's an arrangement to incentivize an employee, and in some cases also transaction with non-employees. And then this takes variety of form, right? In terms of how you structure this whole arrangement. A very vanilla arrangement, plain arrangement, what we see is that where the stock option arrangement is to say that if you complete 5 years of service or 3 years of service, which is what we call a service led condition, right, then you are entitled to exercise those awards. Otherwise, many times it could be linked to a performance based condition, which are linked to targets, or it could be linked to other than performance. For example, it may link to a market price condition, to say the share price of the company were to move so much, then you are entitled for these benefits. In some situations, right, it may be linked to bizarre conditions, right, to say if the gold price were to move by this much, then you are entitled, and so on and so. But those are very, very rare situations, and we commonly don't see that in practice. But theoretically it's possible, right? Theoretically it's possible. So we will look at all of that in great degree of detail, and we will understand the accounting for stock options granted to employees and to non-employees as well, and also understand very different terminologies which are being used, and also try and understand the whole concept, and we will leverage few examples to help you understand how this standard needs to be applied for. So key considerations: what is meant by share-based payment transaction? I think I've tried to explain this to you. What's the meaning of this? What are various types of share-based payments, right? Various types of arrangements is what we will try and talk you through, so that you should be clear about it. Similar to every standard, right? What's the recognition and measurement? So first you understand the scope, and then the recognition principle and the measurement principles, right, of the standard. And then what are vesting and non-vesting? Now this is important, right? What are vesting and non-vesting? This is what I was trying to say, that the service-led condition or a performance-led condition or a market-led condition, all of these are vesting or a non-vesting condition. We will again try and understand some of this with the help of example. And then how do you look at the measurement of fair value of share-based payment transaction, right? In measurement of fair value of share-based payment transactions in a way, from that perspective. And then we're going to look at the modification, cancellation, right, and settlement of such transactions. Also possible to look at from a modification perspective, cancellation perspective, and settlement of such transactions in a way. So all of that is what we will aim to in a way cover as part of this module. So very quickly, looking at the examination trend, right? So this is one standard looks like is being tested in particularly every exam, right? Okay, awesome. So as I see, except in November of 2017, there is this topic has been covered, right, in each of the exams. So it's extremely important topic, right? It's extremely important topic. So it's all the more important for us to, in a way, be conceptually very clear as to what is the meaning of stock-based arrangement or a share-based payment transaction, what the meaning of these vesting and non-vesting, how do you deal with the recognition and measurement, and how do you deal with, in a way, modification, cancellation, right? And then what are the principles in measurement, right? So that's where we use what we call as option pricing model, right? Black-Scholes option pricing model. And similar to what you saw in the employee benefit arrangement on the actuarial valuation, right? That there are a lot of assumptions which goes into valuation. Similar stuff here as well, that there are a lot of assumptions which goes into the valuation. All right. Okay. Let me just take a pause.